They used to call me the lost sheep for 15 whole years. Then one sunny day, they stepped onto my super cool airplane, and their eyes popped out like balloons. Guess what? I wasn't lost at all. I was a billionaire. Want to hear how Emma Watson, the kid everyone thought was a goofball, ended up surprising everyone? Stick around. The yellow invitation to the annual Miller family picnic just sat there on my shiny kitchen table. The bouncy blue letters looked funny in the bright Florida sunshine coming through my big windows. For 15 years, it was like we lived on different planets, quiet on my side, noisy on theirs. But guess what? Things were about to get super weird, and not because I wanted them to. I peeked at my phone. The big news was still right there. Emma Watson makes top 30 under 40 list with her amazing toy app, worth $1 gazillion. The story was coming out tomorrow, just 2 days before the picnic. So much for keeping my secret superhero identity under wraps. Emma Bug, my helper Rosie, said through the little speaker, "Your brother Jake is calling again." Ugh, again? He'd been calling non-stop since the news leaked. I took a deep breath and answered, "Hey, Jakey." "Emma." "What in the world?" he shouted. "My friends at the TV station just asked me how it feels to have a super rich little sister." "What's going on?" I looked out at the sunny trees from my awesome treehouse in my backyard. "Guess you'll find out with everyone else," I said like it was no big deal. "Cut it out." His voice got all sharp. "You let us think you were just drawing silly stuff for years. Mom was always saying, 'Poor Emma, always with her crayons.'" Were they worried? I giggled a little. "You mean all those talks about how I needed to get a real job at Uncle Barry's pizza place? They were just trying to help?" "Nope," I said. "They were trying to make me into someone I wasn't, and you just went along with it." Jake, the smarty pants who went to a fancy school and now works with Dad making grown-up charts, was quiet for a second. "How long?" he finally asked. I walked over to the window of my treehouse, watching my 3 cool scooters lined up below. "Remember when I moved into that little blue house near the playground?" Jake thought for a bit. "Yeah, when you started making those funny games on your computer. That was like 1,000,000 years ago." He didn't say anything else, and he didn't have to. "That's right," I said to my pet hamster, Nibbles, who was running on his wheel. Everyone thought I was bonkers for not wanting to work with numbers like Jake. But guess what? I'd already sold my first set of robot drawings online for a whole bunch of money. $600? Jake sounded like he'd seen a ghost. "Yep," I said. And 6 months later, I sold another bunch for even more. By the time Dad was saying at Christmas that I was still figuring things out, I already had more money than I could count on all my fingers and toes. I could just picture Jake now, his eyebrows all squished together, trying to do the math in his head. But you still asked Mom and Dad for money for your art supplies, and you rode that old bike with the squeaky wheel until last year." He sounded so confused. I actually laughed out loud. "I never asked for money, Jakey. I asked them to believe in my ideas. They just said, 'No way, silly girl.' And that squeaky bike? That was my choice. Just like this awesome treehouse and my super fast go-kart." "Go-kart?" he whispered, his voice all crackly. "How? How rich are you?" I remembered all those times at dinner when I felt like a tiny bug no one could see. My sweet little sister Daisy would always pretend to pay the bill, making a big show about how tough things must be for her arty big sister. "The news says $10 bazillion, I said, making up a silly number. The sound Jake made was like a hiccup mixed with a squeak. "Gotta go to a super important meeting," I said quickly. "See ya at the picnic." Click. I turned to assume Rosie on the speaker. "Is everything ready?" "Yep, Emma Bug," she said. "Your super cool airplane is gassed up. Your rainbow-colored limo is ready to pick up everyone. The picnic spot at the fun park is all booked, and all the don't tell anyone papers are signed. Perfect." I picked up the yellow invitation again. For 15 years, they'd put me in a little box. The weird one. The dreamer. the one who wasn't good with grown-up stuff. But this time they'd see the real me. My phone buzzed. It was Daisy. "OMG, Emma. This news is crazy. Are you playing a joke?" "What is happening?" I giggled and didn't answer. It was funny how the quiet ones always surprise people. Daisy, who loved to brag about her grown-up job while her silly big sister was still playing with colors. The speaker buzzed again. "Emma Bug, your parents are on the line. Tell them I'm in a meeting," I said right away. I looked at my sparkly watch. "Rosie, call the helicopter place. I think I'll take my flying bubble to my meeting today." As I grabbed my tablet, my sunglasses, and my notebook full of super cool ideas, my mind zoomed back to the day everything changed. The day I decided to keep my amazing secret. 15 years ago. "Drawing on a computer isn't real art, Emma," Dad had huffed at dinner. "And these digital doodles you talk about? It's a silly game. No one in their right mind will pay for pretend pictures." I was 12, just trying to explain my super cool ideas at Sunday dinner at their big house. They'd paid for me to go to art camp, so why couldn't they understand? "Actually, Dad," I said, "I just sold my first robot drawing for a whole lot of money." "Enough," he snapped, cutting me off like I was a bad TV show. "You either come work at my boring office like we planned, or you're on your own. No more help, no more anything." My mom gave me her special poor you smile, reaching across the table to pat my hand. "Honey bunny," she said, "we're just worried. You need something steady, a real job." I looked around the table. Dad's grumpy face, Mom's sad eyes, Jake's quiet eating, and Daisy's little smirk. That was the moment. I didn't tell them about the giant company that wanted to buy my drawings, or the famous artists who wanted to meet me. "You're right," I said, standing up. "I'll figure it out myself." 2 weeks later, I moved into a tiny, little art studio near the park. They probably thought I was sad and lonely, too stubborn to ask for help. But I was quietly building a super amazing world on my computer. Year 1 was crazy. Drawing all day and all night, learning how to make my drawings move, talking to people online. My first big set of glow-in-the-dark animal drawings sold out super fast. I made a mountain of money. I used every single penny to make my ideas even bigger and better. I hired super smart people, built my own websites, and made it so people could have my drawings in their own pretend worlds. But every time I visited home, I rode my squeaky bike, wore my paint-splattered overalls, and gave them a quiet smile. "Let me help you buy some new crayons, Emma," Mom would say. "No thanks," I'd reply. "I'm doing just fine." And I was way more than fine. By the end of that first year, I had so much money, it was silly. By year 3, I could have bought the whole town. But to my family, I was still just Emma Watson, the goofy sister who drew silly things. Now, 15 years later, as I stepped into my flying bubble on the roof of my awesome treehouse, I thought about how my little secret had grown into a giant surprise, and in 2 days, everything would change. My phone buzzed again, a text from Dad. "We need to talk." I smirked and turned off my phone. He'd have to wait. After 15 years of helpful advice and secret eye rolls, they were finally going to learn the truth, and I was going to make sure they never forgot it. The news story popped up online exactly at sleepy time. I was already wide awake, sipping. My yummy juice box, my supercomputer glowing in my cool office. Pictures of my crazy robots filled the screen. Toy whiz kid Emma Watson quietly builds a bazillion-dollar empire. The headline was huge. Right next to it was a picture I picked myself. Me in front of my giant robot sculpture, wearing my favorite sparkly overalls. The story told everyone how I built my amazing company all by myself, the super cool games I made, the toys everyone wanted. My phone started buzzing like a beehive. Daisy. "Wait, is this real? $1 bazillion? Jake. I told you something was weird yesterday. Mom. Emma Bug, sweetie, please call me. This has to be a mistake. Dad. Is our Emma the Emma Watson? I turned off the chat and looked at my email. So many messages. TV shows wanting to talk to me, toy companies wanting to work with me, even a letter from the mayor. But one email caught my eye. It was from Dad's grumpy business friend, Mr. Grumbles. Emma, it said, maybe we can work together now. Your dad might have been mistaken before, but we're open to new ideas. I actually laughed out loud. 3 years ago, I showed Mr. Grumbles my idea for robot toys. He looked right at me and said, "Silly girl games? We only do real business." My speaker buzzed. "Emma Bug, your mom is here." Rosie sounded a little worried. I looked at the security camera. There she was, Elaine Miller, always perfect in her fancy clothes, arguing with my robot guards like it was the end of the world. "Let her up," I sighed. Time to face the first little storm cloud. Looking out at the sunny park from my treehouse, with my giant hamster wheel art spinning behind me, Mom walked in, her face all wobbly. "Emma?" she whispered, her voice shaking. What is all this?" "This is my real home, Mom," I said calmly, handing her a juice box. "Not the tiny little playhouse I keep for family visits." She walked over to the big windows, her fancy shoes clicking on my wooden floor. "But how? When? How long have you been living like this?" 15 years, I replied, leaning against my art table. "Since the night you and Dad said my robot drawings were just a silly phase, something no one would ever care about." She turned slowly, her perfect hair now a little messy, her face all mixed up. "But we saw you in that little studio, that old bike, asking for money for art camp." I gave a little smile. "I never asked for money for art camp. I asked you both to believe in my ideas. There's a difference. And the studio, the bike, that was all part of my secret plan. I played the goofy artist because that was the only Emma Watson you ever seemed to see." Her mouth dropped open. You tricked us, Emma Bug?" "No," I said quietly. "I just didn't tell you the whole story. You were so sure I was just playing around, you never looked closer." She plopped down onto one of my beanbag chairs, looking older than I'd ever seen her. "Does anyone else know?" "Just Jake," I said. "He found out when the news came out. I think he tried to warn you." She nodded. "He called your dad, said it had to be a mistake, some other Emma Watson." I walked to my desk and handed her a drawing. "Here's my idea for robot pets. I showed it to Dad 3 years ago. If he'd believed in me then, he could have had a whole mountain of money now." Her hands shook as she looked at the colorful robots. He said, "You were just asking for a handout," she whispered. "That your drawings were silly, and I believed him." She didn't look up. "Did any of you ever come to my robot shows? Look at my website? Nothing?" I turned back to the window, watching the kids play in the park below. "The picnic is still happening, by the way, but I changed the spot. I rented out the whole fun park. Everyone will get a ride in my rainbow limo and we'll have a super fun party." "Your fun park?" Mom echoed, her voice tiny. "Yep," I said happily. "I bought it last year after I sold my giant robot statue for $1 zillion. I turned to face her. "And Mom? This time, I won't be the quiet one sitting in the corner while everyone talks about grown-up stuff. I have some things to say too." She stood up slowly, smoothing her fancy skirt with shaky hands. "Your father, when he sees all this," her voice wobbled, "he'll have to say it, that his daughter, his silly artist daughter, built something bigger than all his boring charts." I smiled a little. "And Mom, that's just the beginning." I walked her to the door. "Oh, and one more thing. Remember that sparkly unicorn you always wanted? The one Dad said was too childish?" She looked at me confused. "I bought 3 of them last month. I said with a shrug. Just because I could. The door closed on her surprised face. As soon as she was gone, I buzzed Rosie. Is everything ready for the picnic? Ready, PD, Emma Bug, she replied cheerfully. Fun park staff are all set. Each family member will get a special scrapbook showing all the times they didn't believe in your super cool ideas, with big dollar signs next to them. The video of all your amazing creations is ready to play during the pizza party. Excellent. I picked up my phone, opened the family chat, and typed a message. Can't wait to see everyone at the fun park. Wear your party hats. The rainbow limo will pick you up. Then I looked at the numbers on my computer screen. My toy company was worth even more now. Before the sun even said hello, I thought of my dad, probably in his office right now, trying to figure out how the daughter he called Goofy had become super famous. I thought of Daisy, still bragging about her grown-up job, not knowing I could buy her whole office building with my allowance. This picnic? It was going to be epic. My phone buzzed again. A message from Dad. We need to talk before the picnic. Some things are better said quietly. I typed back, everything will be talked about at the picnic, Dad. Isn't that what picnics are for? Sharing fun news. Then I called Rosie again. Have the robot painters repaint the Ferris wheel. Make sure my robot logo is super big and sparkly. It's already done, Emma Bug. Anything else? Rosie asked. I thought about 15 years of being called silly, of secret smiles, of being the family goofball. Yes, I said. Have giant pictures of my news story hanging everywhere in the fun park. I want it to be the first thing they see, no matter where they look. As I hung up, I saw my reflection in the window. Calm, happy, richer than a pirate's. Treasure, and finally ready to show them all who I really was. The countdown was over. The morning of the Miller family picnic was sunny and bright. I stood by my rainbow limo as 3 shiny black cars pulled up. They had arrived. The doors opened and first came my dad, still trying to look important, but his shoulders weren't as straight as usual. My mom followed, quieter than I'd ever seen her after our talk. Then came Jake, Daisy, and a whole bunch of aunts, uncles, and cousins, their faces all mixed with surprise and a little bit of, I don't believe it. And there, waiting for them, was my super cool airplane, shiny and rainbow-colored, with Emma's Fun Toys written in big sparkly letters. Welcome, everyone, I said, my voice loud and happy. Hope you like the ride. Emma, my dad said, stepping forward, trying to sound like he was in charge. This is a bit much. The regular park would have been just fine. I smiled. But Dad, this picnic needed to be extra special. At my fun park. Your what? Daisy mumbled, holding her fancy purse. Of course you have a fun park. As they got on my airplane, I watched their eyes go wide, looking at the fluffy seats, the robot waiters offering juice boxes, the walls covered in my colorful drawings. Is that a real robot butler? Uncle Barry whispered. Yep, I replied. I have a whole army of them. My dad cleared his throat. Emma, maybe we should talk. We will when we land. Until then, enjoy the yummy snacks, I said, holding up a plate of rainbow cookies. They cost more than your whole pizza place made. Last month, Uncle Barry. He blinked. 2 hours later, we landed next to a giant, sparkly Ferris wheel. My fun park. It was even more amazing up close, with crazy roller coasters, giant stuffed animals, and happy music everywhere. And there it was, just like I planned. My name? Emma Watson's Fun Toys, in huge, bright letters on the side of the biggest roller coaster. So, cool, Daisy gasped, finally. Getting it right, she finished, staring up at the towering letters. As everyone piled out of the airplane, their jaws practically scraping the ground, I grinned. Welcome to Emma's Fun Park, I announced with a little bow. Jake stumbled forward, eyes wide. You bought a whole fun park? Yep, I said cheerfully. And guess what? Everyone gets their own special goodie bag. Rosie and a team of robot helpers handed out bright yellow bags filled with candy, silly glasses, and a personalized scrapbook. "What's this?" Uncle Barry asked, flipping through his scrapbook. It was filled with pictures of me as a kid drawing, followed by newspaper clippings about his struggling pizza place, with big red arrows pointing at the dates. "That's a Remember When book," I explained. "It shows all the times you didn't quite believe in my amazing ideas." Mom looked at hers, her eyes widening at a picture of my first robot drawing next to a news article about her complaining about my silly hobby. Dad's scrapbook showed my early game designs next to his lectures about needing a real job. Even Daisy's had pictures of her bragging about her grown-up achievements next to my growing success. "Emma," Dad began, his voice a little shaky. We didn't realize—" "That's okay," I said brightly. "Now you do. Everyone go have fun. Try the robo-coaster, it tickles. And meet me at the Pizza Planet in an hour for super special news." They all wandered off, looking dazed and a little bit guilty. I watched them go, a small smile on my face. It wasn't about making them feel bad. It was about finally showing them what I was capable of. An hour later, everyone gathered at the giant Pizza Planet restaurant in the middle of the park. Robot chefs tossed pizza dough in the air, and colorful lights flashed. I stood on a small stage, a big screen behind me. "Hi, everyone," I said. "I have a super exciting announcement. Remember those robot pets I showed Mom?" The screen behind me lit up with adorable, fluffy robots with big, blinking eyes. "Well," I continued, "they're real, and every single one of—" "You gets to take one home today," gasps filled the room. Daisy clapped her hands like a little kid. Even Dad looked surprised and happy. "But that's not all," I said, holding up a sparkly remote control. "I've also designed a special new game for the fun park. It's called Believe in Your Dreams. You get to build your own amazing toy inventions in a virtual world, and then we make the best ones real." The screen showed kids laughing as they designed crazy robots and flying unicorns. "And guess who's going to help me run this amazing new part of the park?" I asked, looking right at Jake. He blinked, pointing at himself. "Me?" "Yep," I said. "You're good with numbers and, well, someone needs to make sure we don't run out of pizza money." Jake grinned, a real honest grin. "I'd like that, Emma." As the day went on, the awkwardness faded away. We rode roller coasters, played games, and ate tons of pizza. For the first time in a long time, we were just a family having fun. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, we all gathered by the giant Ferris wheel with my sparkly logo. "Thanks for the best picnic ever, Emma," Daisy said, hugging me tight. Dad put a hand on my shoulder. "Emma, we're really proud of you, honey bunny." Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. "We should have believed in you all along." I smiled. "It's okay. What matters is we believe in each other now." As everyone got back into the rainbow limo, waving goodbye, I stood there, watching the lights of my fun park twinkle. It wasn't just a place for rides and games. It was a place where dreams came true. And finally, my family could see that my dreams were pretty amazing after all. The lost sheep had finally found her way, and she'd built a whole amazing world along the way. And you know what? It felt pretty darn good.